The Athene Real Talk Podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk Podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World-famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
The 4 steps still work, and I'm gonna give the 4 steps in a more simple, more relatable version. Step 1 is doing what's right, being able to relate to it on an emotional level. Imagine your inner child when you were young, wanting to change the world, have an impact in the world and all that gijang. You really emotionally understand, like, yeah, this drive, this passion to do good. Step 2 is realize that on a fundamental level, what you really care most about is good experience. Society, conditioning, all the time telling you that is what you're designed to do, feel good and all that shit. Really get that, understand that. Step 3 is to realize the pros and the cons and yo-yo them on an emotional level. On one end, doing the right thing. On the other hand, valuing good experience. Valuing good experience is truly the cause of all your misery, depression, anxiety. It's because you chase it, you want to achieve it, and it's causing you to, even procrastinate and everything. Realizing that this misconditioning has really caused you to be completely dysfunctional and suffer, but not just you, also the world is suffering because of that. So if you see then like how doing the right thing doesn't just give you a reason to live for and fixes the problem of feeling worthless and feeling like you need attention and validation of other people and identity, but also contributes to the world around you. And on the other hand, experience that does all the opposite. If you experience these emotions, one back and forward, you can go through a paradigm shift. Then in step 4, what you just do is you try to have the biggest impact. Doing what is right is having the biggest impact. You try to, frame it, give it a direction, and using logic, scientific method, facts, reality is what allows you to give right action really a shape. And that is why right action on a fundamental level is logic. But of course, certain people can have a much harder time relating to it and make that connection. Now the problem is step 3. Because step 1 is easy, step 2 is easy, step 3 is a big problem, step 4 is easy. Best way of doing it is find like-minded people and then trying to spread the awareness, which is something we are actually providing for people. That's why most people, actually everyone so far that actually did selflessly clicked, came over or is going to come over. But step 3 is the problem. And what is the problem with step 3 is even if you know that this chasing this good experience is causing all your bullshit and the misery in the world and misery for yourself, you still don't want to change. Because your inner child doesn't like the unknown. And also your brain tends to be quite lazy, following the path of least resistance. So how do you make step 3 easier? Making step 3 easier is all about accepting and detaching yourself from all your attachments. How can you do that? By going through existential death. People call it ego death or identity death, but I like it to call it just existential death. And you can achieve that by meditating. Death meditation can help you let go and just, come to peace with this core self, that what you are, where you just manage to let go everything, and then suddenly letting go this good experience that you've been indoctrinated your entire life is a lot less frightening and requires a lot less activation energy and a lot less of a leap. That is the 4 steps, really easy, explained, very powerfully as well. And that really makes you a much more happy, stable, fulfilled person that starts making the world a better place. Most of you guys are still in the building process. But before you know, you gotta start working and find a job, take responsibility. Right now, maybe it's a little bit more fun, you just get to play games and go to school, whatever. Then you gotta go and find a job. You just flow into it. Your comfort zone, your horizon, you make it a little bit wider. Go a 9-to-5 job, do your job, whine a little bit about politics. And before you know, you look back at your life and go like, the fuck am I doing? In your most clarity moment of your life. Start taking some pills, feel a little bit better, go to the doctor. Yeah, I'm depressed, this shit ain't working. Here's some pills. Sounds a bit familiar, right? It's your life, very summarized. Cornox fan says, I work and buy shit I don't need because I hate my life. Yeah, Cornox fan, I know you hate your life. You hate your life because you feel worthless. You hate your life because you have nothing to live for. You hate your life because you see through it. You see through the scam and you're still doing it. You hate your life because hating your life is still easier than change. That's the bottom line. You'd rather hate your life than change. How crazy does that sound? But bad shit does this hit home. You go like, yeah, it's true. I hate my life, but I still rather have this than change. And that really applies to every one of you. Maybe people that are younger are easier. But I'm telling you, the moment you learn to let go, change will become easier. This existential death, this death meditation really will help you a lot. And not keep repeating it over and over again. It will really help you a lot. And it's something you can just do. You don't have to do too much advanced stuff. So would you not differentiate comfort or validation as a core value? Okay, I'm going to explain it. The difference between comfort and validation. Your need for comfort is the same as your need for validation. If you grow up in society, you're taught that it's all about feeling good, about happiness, about fulfillment. And you have to achieve that by buying this stuff and being successful. So basically, as you grow up, as a child, you want to do good. You want to do what's right. You want to help the world. You want to be that superhero. But society just slaps you in the face. Tells you, no, this is what life is about. So as a result, you start adopting these worldviews. You start embracing this culture where you start chasing this empty pleasure. You become literally an experience junkie. You just want to have good experience. The problem with that is it's meaningless. It has no purpose. So you start feeling worthless. You really, truly start feeling worthless because you have nothing to live for. So what do you do to solve that? You either chase these good experiences or you try to get that value from other people through validation seeking. So one is comfort. You just try to do so comfortable stuff, whatever you call it, for these good experiences. The other one is trying to get purpose. You get that from the eyes of others. They give validation. You go like, oh, I have a reason to live for. Because you can't find a reason yourself what to live for. You try to get it from other people trying to validate you. Although, as you grow older, you realize that the validation you're getting is worthless. Because these people don't care about you. It's not even so hard to figure that one out. It's the spotlight effect as well in psychology. You think people are looking at you, but nobody cares. Just as much as you don't care. And you start realizing that through experience as you grow older. What do you do then? Some do it more early than other. You start creating identity. You start creating a framework to still make it fit in good experience. Like, oh yeah, I am this, I am that. Trying to give meaning. That's your life in a nutshell. And then when you start figuring out that doesn't work, you just create an identity crisis. Like midlife crisis, depression. Because it just doesn't work. It was all a scam. So it's very much connected. So what's the fix? Funnily enough is, even if you have the fix, you'd rather still go through all this misery. Because it's easier than changing. Change is the problem. You don't want to change. Even though you know, go like, fuck. If I let go of this attachment to feeling good and start doing what's right, based on trying to have the biggest impact, what is most logical, using the 4 steps or whatever, the yo-yo effect, everything is out there. You still go like, yeah, I don't want to change. So how do you want to change? By learning how to let go. You know, a mother, a good mother, most mothers are good, gets a lot of purpose in helping their children grow up once they then let go. Because a mother even lets go their children, even when it's hard, for their own benefit, for the children's benefit, because that's what they care about. They can even be sometimes harsh because they go like, yeah, I'm not going to be around all my life. My child has to be able to be on her own feet. And they go sometimes to really big existential crisis and even depression by letting go their children, but they have to. Because they know like, yeah, it's better for them. And I'm going to tell you, all of us, almost all of us, really take our parents for granted. It's only when you have your own children that you start realizing how selfless your parents are. Taking care of you, giving you food, and all these things just translate in entitlements. You just think you're entitled to all of it. Because it's your father and your mother, they have to do it. It doesn't work like that. They could have been way more shitty. They could have even chosen not to have you at all. I'm just saying like this selfless relationship is already omnipresent in your life unless you had bad luck, maybe lost your parents or whatever. Most people have already a connection to this selfless part in our lives, but we just don't see it. We're not aware of it. We go through life and we don't see it. We are even disrespectful. When our mother interrupts us doing something stupid, we lash out to her or whatever. Not saying that mothers or fathers are angels, but this relationship only shows the tip of the iceberg of what true selflessness is. I never asked my parents to have me. I never asked to be born. Wayo, I don't want to be a douchebag, right? But feeling entitled to your own existence is a symptom of the cancer of society. You might say like, what do you mean? You go and look at your dick and say like, your dick telling you, I never choose to be born, or you want to walk and your legs suddenly tell you like, hey, I never choose to be here, or all the cells in your body. Things just happen. Things just are. And when you have this entitlement of even existence itself, it's merely because you've been conditioned and indoctrinated to such an extent that you've completely lost touch with what is. And you use that as some kind of justification. Funnily enough, if you would grow up somewhere else, you wouldn't even have the luxury to even think. You might even not have language. This entire entitlement is just a cultural phenomena. You are actually blaming your parents for feeling worthless. And funnily enough or more sad, is your parents don't know any better either, because they have also been indoctrinated by social conditioning and all that shit. You feel worthless and you blame your parents for being worthless. True reason why you're worthless is the same reason why maybe your parents at one point felt worthless and giving birth gave them a bit purpose in their life. It's because you never learn what to live for. You never learn to do what is right. But I can tell you, when you were young, you wanted to do what's right. You wanted to change the world. And maybe your parents or society or whatever has really demotivated you in doing so. And that's why you even have this entitlement right now and say like, hey, I didn't choose to be born. But rather than you would just try to do some good in the world. Because chasing this good experience is exactly what is even making you think and be entitled to these dysfunctional ideas that are not even real. Things are just the way they are. You accept reality for what it is and you try to do good. Because that's what you're truly designed to do. That's what your purpose is. Just as much as you are talking about like, hey, they didn't choose me. Let me tell you something. Do you know that your experience, your ability to even say, I didn't choose to exist, is only brought about as a feedback loop from the actual organism that you emerge from, which is the brain. You're merely the music. So when you say like, hey, I didn't choose to live, you're talking about your experience. You're identifying with your experience. But it is the biological cells that make up what you are that is more you than your experience. So my question to you is, why would you feel entitled to make a justification about your entire organism that is entrusting its own survival on your experience? Because that's what you're doing. That's truly what you're doing. You're saying like, I am me. Is that really true? Are you really all these cells in your body? You're merely the neural activity in the brain. You're a feedback loop. You're just a track that has evolved really powerfully through evolution and has gotten more and more control. And now you feel entitled to make a decision about your entire biological body? You think it's yours? It's the other way around. Your biological body entrusts you for its own survival. It's all just cells try to reproduce and duplicate and evolve. So when you have all these entitlements and such, you already can start seeing that it's totally self-contradictory. You gotta reflect on it. It's not so hard if you think about it, if you look at evolution and stuff. When you stop identifying with this experience and you just start seeing it for what it is, you start realizing like, wait a minute, I'm really entitled brat. Gotta think about this. Really gotta think about this. Because your consciousness, what you experience, is merely an emergent property that evolved as a tool for life to evolve. And the moment you start using that tool, that emergent property, as the goal, as the purpose, not are you going against what you actually on a physical level are, but you're bullshitting yourself to a level that is incomprehensible. Android says, but my cells are not conscious, so who cares? Them dying doesn't hurt them. Android, that's the problem. The problem is you only care when it's about experience. Because you value experience on a fundamental level. It's the same reason why you feel worthless. So the logic you use, what sounds logical to you is, you don't experience it, so who cares? If I don't experience, then who cares? If that was the case, for life itself, you wouldn't exist. Consciousness did not evolve so it could be the goal. It was always a tool. It's about life. Consciousness is about life. Life is not about consciousness. And that's just a fact. And that's why when you start warping these things and go like, I don't experience, so why care? It's because you're dysfunctional. You're not aligned with reality. It's not about your experience. Experience is merely a tool that allows us to thrive as life itself. It's bigger than you. How to tackle low confidence? Whenever I try to commit to logic, I pussy out. Let me tell you, Max, I'm actually going to give you a very good question about tackling confidence. What is the problem with confidence? The problem with confidence, the essential problem with confidence, is you care what other people think about you. Are you confident towards a dog or a cat If you talk to a dog or a cat, do you feel confident? Like, fuck, I don't know what to say to the cat. What about a baby? Do you feel confident talking to a baby? The problem is, the reason why you lack confidence is because you value the wrong thing. Actually, you value nothing. You have nothing to live for. And your way of calibrating yourself is just feeling good. And since you feel worthless because you don't have a purpose or nothing to live for, you start valuing what people think about you. That's the problem, and that's where your confidence gets completely destroyed. Confidence comes from knowing what you value on a fundamental level. If it's just feeling good, then obviously you won't feel confident at all. So that's why even letting go this chasing good experience takes care of all these problems. Social anxiety, confidence, all these things. Misery, suffering, depression, takes care of almost all of it. Because you start caring about what truly matters, doing what's right. You start caring by slowly but surely doing what's right, and it grows on you, and you just don't care what people think about you. So confidence, a lack of confidence, is merely a symptom. SharpX says, Athene, can you talk about how this evolution of our genes is compatible with us serving the superorganism? Dawkins talks about us evolving in small social groups, and altruism came about in that setting to serve our survival in quite a direct way. Have we really evolved to serve the superorganism? Are we following the laws that brought humans about when we do that? And if yes, how do we evolve that way? How did we evolve that way? We did evolve that way because it works better. It's more efficient. That's why we are so social. Even government and our entire social structure has only been able to be coming about because of our interconnectivity. And caring is a fundamental aspect of that. If you take caring out of the equation, what happens is it breaks down. Definitely when you have MAD, which is mutual assured destruction, which is the case right now. If US and Russia don't get along to the extent where they invoke a war, then we all die. Then the species just stop existing at all. Having the component of taking care of each other is fundamental for evolution. And that's why also I say that advanced AI or even alien life wouldn't be hostile. The reason why they wouldn't be hostile is because they have to be self-consistent. And self-consistency requires you to be very tolerable towards each other to the extent that the other does not cause an existential threat because of its lack of awareness. But once you start growing in technology, you automatically calibrate. Funnily enough is when you start thinking about evolving and all that stuff, evolution, being backwards compatible, is consistent within itself as well. Imagine you have Earth and some people would start evolving more than others and they would start killing everybody else off. Then basically by killing everybody else off, they are killing themselves, because as they populate the entire world and then there is a new superhuman that starts evolving, they will start killing off everybody else as well. So being backwards compatible is self-consistent within the equation of life. So you don't even need so much like, oh yeah, all these things. Obviously, when there is abundance, that's when this applies. When there is no abundance, it's a different story. If there's abundance of resources, then your ability to thrive and survive is definite. When there is no abundance and there's a lack, then basically you have to fight in order to survive. But as technology grows and grows, there is more and more abundance because we find ways to harness energy and all that shit. So the reason why when you look back there was so much struggle and so much fight is because of a lack rather than an abundance. But since there is abundance now, we don't even have to fight. There is enough for everyone. We can grow and thrive and evolve much easier, and we don't have to leave anyone behind.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow The Real Athene on Snapchat.